Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present our spectacular show of podcast magic and imagination full of Disney wonder, news, and pop culture. It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast with Jenn Dave and David Dollar.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dave.
It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Main Street Electrical Podcast. And it is Christmas time. We got a couple of weeks before Christmas, and I don't know if our Christmas shopping is done. Mine certainly isn't, because I've given my wife the list, and she's like, oh, yeah, we have to buy for so-and-so, so-and-so. I'm the one that go fetches stuff. She's the one that tells me what to get. She hasn't told me anything yet, so I'm like...
Oh, sure. Push the blame on Steph.
I mean, pretty much. It's like she knows what we have to buy for. She's the one that says, go get this, and... I'm just waiting for the list. She'll be like, nah, that's fine. Just go get it, whatever. So yeah, we'll get something eventually. On the line with us, of course, my fellow co-host from the Deucecast Movie Show, which he and I have been friends for 22 years now.
We're old, Dave.
We've legitimately podcasted for half of our friendship. For 11 years we've podcasted, which is ridiculous. The Deucecast Movie Show comes out every Wednesday morning, and we just dropped episode 512. The day you're hearing this, the day we're recording this, we'll drop it tomorrow. So when you're hearing this, the Deucecast will have just come out. Our Reflections episode, which is all the movies we've seen, which is a ridiculous amount of films that we have no lives. But that, of course, is Michael Nipp. Haven't you said your name yet? Michael, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Dave? What's up, Jen? Glad to be here.
Hey,
or should I say,
have you.
Cowboy Michael Nipp with a cowboy hat on.
That's right. Hey, I'm keeping it real today.
Very cool. All right, so we are top of every show. Jen, how did you Disney this week?
Oh gosh. This week, I guess the easiest way I could say I Disneyed is I am wearing a lot of Disney shirts. Particularly this one sweatshirt. It's my Walt Disney World with the sequiny hood.
Of course.
Sequiny hood, obviously.
Those.
So yeah, it's not quite as cool as his cowboy hat, but
no.
Nah.
There's no
it's a little
sequence on the
glittery.
cowboy hat, unfortunately. But so for me, in the mail, I've been waiting for this forever. I finally got my Black Widow Schwarma.
Oh,
My Black Widow
nice.
Funko. They're coming out every 6 to 8 weeks, and I've gotten every one of these. They all interconnect. There's one left. It's Thor, and it's on my Christmas list. I'm crossing my fingers that it will get ordered before, because I want to make sure it doesn't sell out. I may just tell my wife, hey, go ahead and order this for me. I'll count it as Christmas or whatever, but let's get it ordered, because I want to make sure I get them all, and I'll be able to hook them all together. It's the Schwarma scene at the end of the Avengers. Those of you who have been listening to the podcast, you followed my journey on these. When I ordered the first one, Iron Man, now here's the fifth one, Black Widow, and so I'm really excited. Mikey, how did you Disney this week?
Oh, man. I went on a little retail shopping journey yesterday. There was an item that I saw pop up on Twitter a couple weeks ago that I knew I must have. So I figured, it's a stuffed animal thing. It won't be that hard to find. So I went to like our Target right down the road. It wasn't there. I went to a Target a little further down the road. It wasn't there. I went to a third Target past downtown Birmingham in a town called Fultondale. It wasn't there. I finally went to South Shelby County, and I found my friend here.
Yes.
Now he's labeled Rhodian, which is, of course, if you're familiar with Star Wars, that is the species of Greedo. So it's not labeled Greedo, but you know, the main reason I wanted to buy this guy is a couple different things here. We'll see if he says. There's one. There's that one. And then here we go. There it is. McClunky.
Oh my God.
McClunky is the oft maligned actual piece of dialogue that was added to the Disney Plus version of A New Hope. It was the one change, for whatever reason, that George Lucas wanted to make for the Disney Plus version of A New Hope, is to add Greedo saying McClunky to Han Solo in that famous Mos Eisley Space Cantina scene. And so when this thing came out, I knew I had to have it because it says McClunky. So.
I can just imagine
That's
George
awesome.
Lucas's wife has a cousin named Fred McClunky, And she's like, George, just give this guy something. He's bothering us. Get him off my back. Fine, I'll put him in the movie. And that's where it came from. Now, is that okay? So to set this up for the listeners who don't listen to the Deucecast, Michael owns every Hallmark. I call them stuffies, but they're like plushies.
Hallmark?
Star Wars version of it.
Itty bitties.
Itty bitties. They're basically like Hallmark Beanie Babies. And but he owns every Star Wars version of it. Some of them are hard to find. He was gifted one a couple a year or two ago that was like $200 at a sale or whatever. It was like real rare. No, is this an itty bitty or is this a different?
No. This is just a random Mattel.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mattel is doing a lot of products with Disney now. That Star Wars wise, it used to just be Hasbro everything, but Mattel's doing quite a bit. I bought another Mattel thing because I do have all the versions of Ahsoka in plush form. Right. So if there is a plush version of Ahsoka, I own it. Now, that's not counting like random dog toys and stuff like that. It's like proper, and it's not I don't have the Ahsoka Build-A-Bear. I'm not going to buy that. Like actual Ahsoka things. I've got like a Funko plush, a Mattel plush, the one from Galaxy's Edge that you can get there for a little while. I've got that. And there's a couple itty bitties that I've got. And then this random one from Star Wars Celebration. So anything Ahsoka, if there's been a plush come out, I've got it. But this Greedo, it said McClunky. I had to have it. Harder to find than I thought it would be. It's part of the Galaxy's Edge at Target. You know, when you go to Target, sometimes you see products that are Galaxy's Edge labeled. Well, this for some reason is Galaxy's Edge labeled. I have no idea why, but they have a bunch of little stuffed animals that make sounds, but I had to have that one.
Well, the fun thing is that one of our listeners, and of course the co-host of the Main Street Electrical, I'm not Main Street, the co-host of the Imagineers podcast, Susie, loves Ahsoka. So hearing Michael talk about Ahsoka, she's like fangirling. Jen, I have to ask you, and this is not an embarrassment to you, do you know who Ahsoka is? When we're talking about Ahsoka, are you okay? I'm just making sure. I don't know.
No, I do.
I don't know what you've seen. I have no idea. So,
I mean, I haven't seen as much as you guys, for sure. Okay, like there are parts of the Star Wars universe that I have not seen. Like I've not, but I do know who Ahsoka is.
There are parts of the Star Wars universe that nobody has seen except for Mikey because he's a hardcore fan.
I mean,
I've seen most of it.
And we'll get to that a little bit later on. But first, let's kick it off with some news. All right, Jen, and Mikey, for you, this too, because you're going to love this. Cast member previews for Indiana Jones are here. Of course, the show is reopening on the 19th of December, in just a couple of days, actually. Cast member, actually, when this is dropping, cast members are getting their previews today and tomorrow. So the 16th and 17th. So the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular Hollywood Studios is getting open, which is exciting.
Now, it's a pared down show, though, right?
I believe so. It's probably a touch of or a taste of Indiana Jones or whatever.
Well, I can't imagine they're going to do the audience participation like they used to.
Probably not.
Right.
I can't imagine that.
I've done that twice. I've been a part of the participation twice, which is a lot of fun. For all the whining that we as Disney fans do about, oh my gosh, Disney's such high prices. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they charge it. We did that for the Christmas party. We looked at the Christmas party and we thought, that's so ridiculous. How could they charge $250 for a party? It's sold out. Completely across the board, completely sold out. So all I'm gonna say is, guys, if we're gonna complain about the prices, don't go, because guess what?
Somebody's going.
And Disney's like, is this too high of a price? Yeah, probably. Is it sold out? What can we charge next year? I mean, it is what it is. It's called capitalism at its finest. So, if you want to go to the party, it's sold out. Now, I do know that with Halloween party, most days actually, you were able to show up day of, and early in the morning at park opening and go to the guest services and say, hey, can we get tickets? And a lot of times they would sell them to you because of cancellations or whatever. Not promising that's going to happen this time, but if you're there, you want to go to the party, you didn't get a ticket, go to Magic Kingdom, see if tickets are available. It's the only thing you can do. Just see what happens. So it's a good deal. Guardians is also testing. Early testing has begun for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
I'm so excited.
Opening up next summer. We are crossing our fingers for media passes. Jen, get on that. Marcy, Rory, get Rory on that because Rory's the one with the pull. Call the Bob. Call the Josh tomorrow. You love us. We know you do. So let's get on that. We need to media passes for this. You know what? I will even agree to only write it once. Just one time. I won't even ask for 2 passes.
That's so magnanimous of you.
I'm so Ben Violent. I really am. I mean, it really is.
You're so Ben Violent. Yes, you
exactly. How humble I am. But Guardians is testing now for opening next summer. Refurbishments. If you're going to the parks in the next month or so, be aware that Expedition Everest is going on refurb January the 4th. I don't know how long it will be closed, probably for just a couple of days, maybe a week or so as they kind of refurb it. Before you ask, they're not fixing the Yeti. before you're
No,
wondering,
they will
are
never
they
fix
fixing
the Yeti.
No, they're not going to fix the Yeti.
They will never fix the Yeti.
Especially now that Joe Rohde's gone, they're definitely never fixing the Yeti. They're like, Joe's out. We're not worried about it. I mean, it is what it is. Disco Yeti will prevail. Big Thunder will be closed February the 14th through the 18th. So that is going to be a refurbishment there. And Splash Mountain for a month. It's an annual refurbishment in January. January the 10th through February the 10th. Now, people are worried about...
Now, when's the big one happening? When's the big refurb happening?
Well, we don't know that. I was about to say that
okay.
all plans are to keep it open for now. I think had COVID not happened, we probably would be in that refurb right now.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Do you think so? You think?
I disagree. I don't think they would have done it before the 50th.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Before the 50th,
that.
right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, honestly, I think they might have maybe done it sometime this year, maybe early next year or whatever, just closing it down. They needed it for the 50th because it is a people eater. It holds
is.
lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
And as busy as the parks are right now, they have to have that. Final two things here. Disneyland issued an apology letter to the guests who had trouble with Genie Plus. Opened up on Disneyland for the first time last week on the 8th, and it was just a disaster. Well, they sent this to the guests. We apologize for the challenges you have experienced with Genie Plus on December 8th. We're working to provide recovery, and if you haven't received assistance, please contact us at blah, blah, blah. We appreciate your understanding and hope in the future you will experience the benefits of Genie Plus. Thank you, Disneyland guest correspondents. Now, it is kind of a generic form, but at least it's something. We never got. People didn't get that for Disney World. Disneyland gets the apology, so who knows? I'm hoping it's better now. I haven't heard a lot. Final bit of news here, and I think this is great. And Michael, you're a collector here, so this might be something you'd be interested in. Now, there's a restaurant at Disney Springs called the Boathouse. I've been there. Jen's been there. I'm not sure about Michael, but I know it's a great food.
Okay.
Well, outside the Boathouse, they have this great little boat. It's a Venetian water taxi. It's listed now on the Boathouse's Facebook Marketplace section. Previously, the boat was used for private meals on the water. The current asking price now is $25,000. Okay?
Cool.
It's a 1984 water taxi. It's 38 feet long, weighs 8,000 pounds, features two Volvo Penta 3.5-liter engines. Jen, I know exactly what I'm talking about there.
I know what a Pinto is.
Before you buy, you're going to have some repairs because it's been connected to the boat for a while, and so the back floor area needs replacing, wire harnessing, gauges, alternators. So I know that you guys are both thinking, Christmas, but just know you have to invest a little more than $25,000. So if you're interested, guys, let us know. We will hook you.
Is that on your Christmas list? I mean,
it is not on my Christmas list. It might be now. I know it's for sale, but my main problem is I don't know where I would put it. It's not the price, and it's not me telling Steph, "Hey, guess what? We just bought a $25,000 water taxi." Those Christmas commercials where you walk outside with the wife, and there's like a bow on a Lexus or something. Right? Hey, I just spent $74,000 on a car without even consulting you. Awesome. I'll be like, "Honey, it's not a Lexus. It's only $25,000. I don't know where we're gonna put it. Our side yard's not even this big, but hey, now we have a boat for Campbell to play on. Yay!" So one of the things that we face as parents, and Jen, you don't have children, but you have us as travel agents, and you deal with us in our whining all the time.
That's
so
just
it's
like
kind
having
of the
children,
same
honestly.
But one of the things the parents deal with, and Mikey knows this with his two young girls, is that we have to entertain them when they're out for Christmas. What do we do with these kids? Yes, they can play outside, but even in Alabama, it gets down to a very cold 38 degrees. This morning it was 39. I was like, I'm freezing. So it's kind of freezing. Jen has no idea. In the Amish culture, it doesn't get cold at all. And so...
Yeah. 28 degrees
one of the
this
things
morning.
we have to do is to figure out how to entertain them. And one of the great things is, of course, streaming. And one of the reasons I wanted to have Michael on is to talk about what's coming up, basically Disney Plus, kind of the big parts of Disney and the streaming, the entertainment part. And we'll just talk a little bit about what's essential viewing, what we need to see, that kind of thing. But first, I want to bring up one movie that both of you have seen that I have not, non-Disney related, but West Side Story. Michael saw it this weekend.
No, it is Disney related.
Oh, it is Disney related.
It is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a Fox release. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It's a Fox release. So, it probably will be streaming on Disney Plus later on this year. So,
probably will be.
Or at least Hulu. So, West Side Story, Jen, you saw it, you loved it. Michael, you saw it, you loved it, which was surprising how much.
I loved it. Oh my gosh, they did such a good job. Now, Mike, you've seen the original, of course.
I've seen I mean the first time this year though. I had not seen the original prior. I saw it. I was going through an American Film Institute Top 100 watch earlier this year, and it was in that, and so I saw it as part of that watch.
Okay.
And I loved the original. I thought the original was great. Too.
The original was fantastic. My only beef with it was that Tony didn't sing in the original. They had to overdub him. Right. He acted great though.
Yeah. No, he was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rita Moreno apparently was a big part of both of them. I know that was a big point for both of you guys.
Yes. Yeah. She played a new character, Valentina, who is basically the Doc character from the original. Right. It's sort of an amalgamation of that character, and the main difference is they had her sing Somewhere, which was gorgeous. I wept.
She's on up there in age too.
I wept
like
openly in that theater. Yeah, she's 90, so yeah.
Tears, tears, absolutely streaming.
Because I mean, for me, I was coming at it at two different angles. I mean, and the weight of her performance in the sense that she's one of the few left from old Hollywood. There's not many actors or actresses left. You got, of course, Dick Van Dyke and you know folks like that, but I mean, he's not as active as he once was. Rita Moreno's still out there doing stuff. And it just, I don't know what it was, like her performance, just the thinking about, man, this is like one of the last starlets from an old age of Hollywood that we've got left. And she's doing it. I mean, it doesn't look like she's going to get a nomination for the role. I haven't seen her name out there. There's been some Critics' Choice stuff that has come out recently, and she wasn't on many of those lists. But that's not to say the Academy won't give her a nomination. But I mean, I thought she did. So it was so good.
And I didn't feel like it interfered at all with the storyline, you know, because I've seen the original several times, as well as the stage version, and giving her the song and the amalgamation, like it just held so true, and I thought it worked so well.
Everything.
So giving an actress a powerful moment in a song, Jen, which one is better, Rita Moreno in this or Anne Hathaway in Les Miserables? Because I know you love both.
I can't talk about this. Anne Hathaway absolutely destroyed one of my favorite songs. It just absolutely terrible.
She's not great.
It sucked. It was straight up. I'm sorry, Anne Hathaway. Your emotion was beautiful. Your singing was terrible in that. You destroyed that song.
I can't wait to bring this up when we have Anne Hathaway on the podcast to talk about Princess Diaries.
I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do it. That song is a powerhouse song, and you destroyed it. No, you can have emotion and still sing beautifully. Man. No.
So when Anne does come on the podcast, she'll say something like, "And when I was singing for Fantine and Les Miserables," I'm just gonna mute Jen, as Jen's gonna be like,
yeah, it's probably a good idea. It sounds like
that is not what that song is supposed to sound like. Don't even get me started on the entire thing.
Can we talk about The Devil Wears Prada? You were good in that. Let's talk about that.
She was great. Yeah, she was great in Devil Wears Prada.
Good
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
All right, so the big thing, of course, is Disney Plus, and that's what everybody has, and that's, one of the biggest streaming services in the world, and I think it's one of the only, companies or organizations, or sub-part of a company that benefited from COVID because it came along at just about the right time. Disney Plus, huge. I mean, they hit their 3-year goal in a year and a half or whatever.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
And there's so much on Disney Plus. There's so many things you get on Disney Plus. It's like you're just looking at everything, going, "Holy crap, what is all this stuff?" So we're gonna kind of turn it over to Mikey. Mike, let's talk about Star Wars first. I want to talk about several Disney properties. First of all, and I'm a big fan of Star Wars. I've seen all the movies several times. I know Jen has seen the movies as well, and she's probably not as big into fandom as we are. She's seen the movies. She's probably seen them a couple of times here and there, because she's in her early 30s, so she's had time to see them, of course.
Oh, bless you.
Something like that. But there's a lot of things on Disney Plus in terms of streaming. Visions, Mandalorian, Bad Batch, things like that. Jen, Michael, what is essential viewing as a Star Wars fan? If I'm not seeing anything, what do I need to see?
Right. I mean, we'll call this the Mandoverse because there's going to be 3 different series that kind of are in the same era that sort of tie together that are within this Mandalorian universe. We've obviously had season 1 and 2 of the Mandalorian already. We've got Book of Boba Fett coming out at the end of the month on the 29th. That is within that same universe. In fact, there's rumor, and you can almost tell from some of the trailers that Din Djarin will be in this Book of Boba Fett also, as make an appearance. The guy
Din Djarin being the Mandalorian.
Mandalorian, right? So he'll show up maybe for one episode, but this is mostly a Boba Fett story, but it's still that same time frame that the Mandalorian is taking place. And then also later on next year, you'll have Ahsoka, which is you've got Rosario Dawson reprising her role as Ahsoka that was introduced in Mandalorian season 2. And so she'll be back. That'll be in the same timeline, like tying up some of those stories as well. I would call those certainly essential viewing. Now, for me personally, I watch everything. I loved The Bad Batch as well. Mm-hmm. Now, that's an animated series, and so that's kind of difficult for some folks to want to jump into an animated series. I can understand that. But personally, I call it essential viewing just because it is setting up eventually some of the stuff that probably ends up playing out in Rise of Skywalker. So you've got because this is a prequel, obviously, that takes place after episode 3, and they're starting to talk about this whole cloning thing, and we see a lot of that in Rise of Skywalker. And so it's just sort of like peppered in stuff to interest people that are following it. There's going to be a Bad Batch season 2 next year as well. So, that if you are into the animated stuff and you're a huge Star Wars fan, that's one to definitely watch. But if you're not into the animated stuff, stick with the Mandoverse. You can watch that. Now, another series that I'm hugely excited for is Obi-Wan. You've got Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You've even got Hayden Christensen coming back as supposedly Darth Vader. Maybe we'll get some flashbacks as him as Anakin. Who knows? That series is going to be fantastic. This, of course, takes place also right after episode 3. So you've got Obi-Wan taking Luke to Tatooine, and he's going to sort of be, the overseer at that point, the protector at that point. So what we don't know is if it's all going to be on Tatooine, if it's going to go off planet. We don't know all those details yet. There's a lot of rumors and stuff like that. I'm super excited for that series. And then one that I'm excited for, but kind of like, why do we need this, is the Andor series. You've got Cassian Andor, which is a character that was introduced in Rogue One. So, maybe that's going to be good, but it's kind of like again, this is an era like right before A New Hope. So this is kind of like in between that prequel era and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It could be good. The rumor is
it could be good.
the robot's not even going to be K2SO, which was super popular. Alan Tudyk's voiceover was hilarious for that robot. He's not even going to be in the series. So at least in the first season,
it's not like he has nothing else to do. I mean, this is what he does. It's Disney voiceovers. That's all.
He's got a lot. Yeah, it's mostly. So I'm excited about it. It's coming out next year at some point. So yeah, there's a lot. In other words, there's a lot of Star Wars coming out next year on Disney Plus.
To go back to the Bad Batch, I know it is a loosely based, I guess, sequel to Clone Wars or
Rebels. It's more of that story.
Those?
No.
So you can hop right in.
Yeah, you can hop right in. Yeah.
Another one online that I kind of see that I don't know a lot about. What is Visions? You see that on Disney Plus.
It's an animated series that came out this year. What they did is basically work with several Japanese animators, more in the anime realm. So you're going to watch that series, and it's more in the anime realm. It is what I would call canon adjacent. So it's not canon to the overarching Star Wars story. These are basically visions of Star Wars storytelling that these particular Japanese animators just decided to put out there. They don't even use many. There's Boba Fett's like in one episode, but the rest of them is new characters. So it's like totally new stories just in the Star Wars universe that are not canon. So you can watch that. If you're a fan of anime, you can just watch that series and just be in awe of the animation just because it's really well done. I mean, it just looks great. You may or may not like every single story. They're all different. There's like 7 episodes or something. I don't know. It's good. I liked it, but it's not essential viewing in the sense that it's canon to what's going on in the current Star Wars universe. So
so for somebody who's just got Disney Plus, or maybe they're hopping in, obviously I would say Mandalorian is the number one essential viewing after the movies. What's the one, maybe the next series, the one series they should pick up after Mandalorian? If you're going to see anything else, go ahead and watch this too.
Well, I mean, you need to watch Book of Boba Fett, which is coming out on the 29th. I mean, that's definitely if a series
like Mandalorian adjacent.
Well, yeah, no, it's within the Mandalorian universe. So, I mean, timeline-wise, it takes place pretty much right after season 2 of The Mandalorian. So you kind of need to stick with it. So if you've watched the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, go ahead and watch the Book of Boba Fett as well. You're going to see some flashbacks of how Boba Fett got out of the Sarlacc pit. You're going to see a little bit of that. But for the most part, this is current to the timeline of what's going on in the Mandalorian series, because there is eventually going to be a Mandalorian season 3. I would think that would either be fourth quarter next year or first quarter of 2023, though, because they're filming that right now. Post-production takes a long time, but there will eventually be a Mandalorian season 3 as well.
It's crazy to think that Baby Yoda or Grogu has been a part of our lives for like 2 or 3 years now.
I know, right?
It really
it's crazy.
It feels like much longer.
I still prefer Baby Yoda.
I do too.
So many people are so
is a
disappointed when they
terrible
hear Grogu. They're like, "What the heck is a Grogu? What?"
Like,
not great.
Yoda is a cute name.
Yeah,
Grogu is like a.
That's like
I don't
having
know,
this
it sounds like a
cute little
fungus.
baby newborn and naming him Herman or something. Apologies to all the Hermans out there. Final thing on Star Wars too. If you go on Disney Plus, there is a section called Star Wars Vintage where you see the old school droids cartoon, the Ewok movies, the Battle of Endor, Caravan of Courage, the story
Are
of the
any of
faithful
those like
Wookiee.
must watch?
No,
but
I mean they're fun.
A lot
but
of
they're
those,
not must watch.
a lot of those is like I saw those as a child. I saw those as a kid.
Yeah,
And
they're
so
old.
This is old school stuff. And also, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the Clone Wars 2D micro series. There was a period in the early 20th century or 21st century, like 2000, like that, where they would show 3-minute cartoons every night on the Disney Channel, like before or something. I mean,
no, it's Cartoon Network, actually.
Cartoon Network, Cartoon Network. And it was basically really leading up to all of the prequels and things like that. It was really cool. They were just great little animation leading up to everything that we see now. A lot of that's kind of for the precursor to a lot of that. So those are fun to watch.
Yeah, they're neat. Yeah.
Let's hop over to Marvel.
Oh, man.
There's a lot going on with Marvel as well. I mean, if you think you've seen the movies, I would think even more so than Star Wars, the Marvel series are so ingrained with the movies themselves. And I love that a lot of the series call back to Thanos, call back to, what happened in the Endgame, call back to the snap and things like that. And so a lot of this is kind of all connected. 4 or 5 series came out, 3 or 4 series came out this year. WandaVision, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We had Loki, and we had Hawkeye, which is out now. I think the 4th episode just dropped. Hawkeye is phenomenal. It's my
so fun.
favorite of the 4 series. Yeah. It's so good because I love Hawkeye, my favorite Avengers.
Hawkeye.
So obviously we've seen all the movies. Jen, you've seen most of the movies. I would say that you've seen the important ones, like the Avengers movies.
I've seen like all the Avengers. I've seen the Guardians. I've seen
I know you've seen the basics. You've seen the big ones.
I've seen the most important ones. I have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp.
You've seen the death of Tony Stark, so you know that happened and everything. So
Spoiler alert.
Why does he have to keep triggering me? I mean, it's like it's still too soon. It's still too soon for me to discuss this. I don't know what to tell you.
And I'll be honest with you, and this might make me a bad follower of Christ when I say this, but one of the things, there's so many things I give thanks to God for, and that is, of course, my family, my children, my job, Jen, the people I know, my friends. Down deep inside, down the list, but I do thank God that the Avengers Endgame came out the year before COVID.
Oh my gosh!
Had it been in COVID, it would have just gone to streaming, and it was such a seminal event in movie history.
But wait a minute, David Dollar, you watched Endgame just in the background, just for some easy watching to have something on.
Much.
That I cannot emotionally do that to myself in the background. That is like an investment. I would
go see a movie, and because Endgame was 3 hours long, so I'd go see a movie that was an hour and 48 minutes. And as I was walking through, I would see Avengers playing on one of the theaters, and I would stick my head in and go sit down and watch the last hour. I saw the last hour of Endgame probably 9 times in the theater.
I can't.
I'd be like, oh, they're going back to the 70s. Let me sit down and watch the rest of this. Or, Nebula just triggered the thing for Thanos to show up. Let me watch the rest of this.
Speaking of triggered, I'm triggered. Again, I'm triggered. So I can't watch that one again.
Let's talk Marvel online on Disney Plus and streaming and stuff. First of all, Mikey, do you have a favorite of the 4 series? Which one are you really like? The series is phenomenal, or which one's
the joke on the Deucecast Extra is I say that it's my favorite series every time we're talking about it. So when WandaVision was out, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is my favorite. When Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I said that. So and the Deucecast Extra is the YouTube show that myself, Garrison, and Dr. Earl do about Disney Plus, Marvel, Star Wars. and Yellowstone. Which is very random, but that's the first thing we did, and so we're continuing to do it. And we added Roth from Wyoming. Dave, we want you on there eventually because you are the Deucecast.
I'm contractually I can't do it. Jen won't let me. She's only allowed me to do certain number of podcasts.
I understand. I understand.
Mikey, I hope you know never to believe him, right? I mean, you've known him long enough. Okay.
So out of the 4 that have released, I loved just the insanity of Loki. I thought that was a really interesting show. I loved Owen Wilson's character in that show, and Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston worked so well together. Like, they had really good rapport back and forth, and so I loved that show. I'm being serious. It's not a joke just because it's the current series. I love Hawkeye, though. Yep. I mean, Hawkeye is the best. It's so Christmassy. Because like it's taking place during Christmas, the series itself, and there's Christmas music in it. I mean, it's just it's like a comedy buddy cop type of vibe to it. You've got Hawkeye working with Kate Bishop, who is kind of going to take that mantle of the Hawkeye bow and arrow,
which I love.
Eventually, at some point, she's going to be in a movie, pretty major character down the road.
Yep.
And so I'm loving the series, and it's not just because it's the most recent one. Out of the 4 that have come out this year, actually 5 if you count What If.
Right.
It's probably my favorite. I mean, it's just so much fun.
I love how Marvel has set these 4 series up to 4 completely different series. WandaVision is fantasy, it's fantastical. How does Wanda deal with the death of Vision? She loved him. How does she deal with that? And what it's going to lead, obviously, into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse coming up next year.
I love Doctor Strange.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It deals with the disappearance of Captain America, of Steve Rogers, who takes the mantle. And of course, at the end of Endgame, they passed it on to Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson didn't feel like he should take that, so he passed that on to say, you know what, I'm going to put this in a museum. There's not going to be a Captain America here. And what happens with that, with a subpar Captain America that comes out, if you say. Of course, Loki is a lot of fantasy. Where does Loki go whenever he disappears in Endgame and he disappears with the Tesseract? What happens? Yeah. And obviously, Hawkeye, which I think I love his character so much because he's not. While he's a superhero, he's not a superhero. He doesn't have the fancy gadgets of Tony Stark. He doesn't have the super strength of Captain America. He doesn't have the God of Thunderishness with Thor. He's just a guy who's really good with a bow and arrow. Very super good with a bow and arrow. And so he's got to face these enemies who are not super villains. They're just bad guys. And I love not yet anyway. I haven't watched the most recent episode. But, I mean, leading up to it's almost like it's a series that, for anything that can be realistic, it's the most realistic of the 4 series. If you say any of them can be realistic, it's the most grounded, I guess. And, again, I love Jeremy Renner, so that really helps. And I'm not even going to ask which one's essential viewing. I'm going to say watch all 4 series. I think at some point in time,
you kind of got
catch all 4. Yeah. They've all got 1 season only. I think they're anywhere from 6, 7 to 10 episodes each. They're all less than an hour. I think WandaVision may have 1 or 2 episodes over an hour. But just watch them all. You can take the entire Christmas break and just go 1 through 1 at a time, and really in any order. So they sort of play off each other, but it's not like if you see Loki first, you're gonna be confused. No, just they're 4 separate stories about Avengers that we love that are all sort of intertwined because they're coming after Thanos. They're coming after the Snap, and I love the fact that the Avengers Endgame is such an important movie. That what happens in that affects so many things in this universe. So it's not just like a one-time event of bad things happening. I mean, so many things get affected by this. So let's talk real quick about some of the other other theories that are like.
Well, Jen, have you seen any of these series yet? No, not yet. She hasn't taken.
Not yet.
I just thought I'd ask.
No, I want to see these series. So, but normally I don't get to sit down and watch TV too much. So I have now though begun with my 2 work screens, working at one screen and watching something on another screen.
Oh, you mean like I do?
Like you do. So I think that what I'm going to have to start doing, and I do want to start with WandaVision though, because that one always intrigued me. I really, really want to watch
the only one I think you're going to have a hard time doing that with is Loki. There's a lot going on in Loki that you really kind of have to focus in on. It's almost like watching a movie with subtitles, which is hard to do when you're working. Yeah. Because there's a lot happening and there's a lot to follow with the time authority and blah, blah, blah. Right. I would start with WandaVision. I think you're going to love WandaVision.
I will love WandaVision.
And I think you're going to love Hawkeye. I think you'll like the other two.
Well, I love Hawkeye, so
I think you're gonna love. I think you're gonna love Hawkeye.
I mean,
Mikey,
Loki will probably be the last one I watch, honestly, just because he wasn't my favorite character.
Right,
I mean, no shade on Loki. He like people love him.
It's my least favorite.
He's
It's my
not
least favorite of the four, and I kind of
Yeah.
compare that to like me going to the Cheesecake Factory. A pecan covered cheesecake is my least favorite cheesecake. I love cheesecake. I will eat it, and I'll be like, "That's delicious." But I probably would have rather had the chocolate
Like the
cheesecake,
tuxedo
the tuxedo
cheesecake or
cheesecake,
something.
maybe a little bit better, you know. Mikey, what if? What is this? What is the series on What If? I've seen a couple of episodes. I couldn't get into it. But what is the premise behind What If?
So, I mean, the multiverse in general is going to be a big deal in Phase 4 of the MCU. That's just going to be something that pops up quite a bit. In fact, probably this weekend, a lot of people are going to be seeing Spider-Man. The multiverse is a huge deal in that Doctor Strange is in there with Spider-Man, and we see in the preview that perhaps he messes something up with his spell because Peter Parker's interrupting him quite a bit and things go crazy. And so the multiverse was also touched on a little bit in Loki. So it's just a thing. It's just going to be a thing that you kind of need to be aware of. And that's how I would describe What If it is basically the multiverse, what happens on these different multiverses, these different Earths, like to these characters that we already know and love. Some of them are different characters, some of them, you know. Now, as far as essential viewing, I would say if there was one series that you don't necessarily need to see, it's What If. Now, they have announced that there is going to be a season 2 of What If, which, you know, they could continue some of the storylines that they introduced in season 1, but I wouldn't say it's essential viewing, just in the sense that I don't think a lot of those specific character types, like for example, you had Captain Britain, which is the female. Well, no, they didn't call her Captain Britain. What did they call her? Captain Carter. Basically like a female version of Captain America.
Right.
The reason they didn't call her Captain Britain is because that's an actual character that may be introduced later on in the MCU. I would love Henry Cavill to play Captain Britain, but I don't know if that'll actually happen. So anyways, that was a very popular episode. People were very into this idea of a Captain Carter in physically enhanced super strength version of Peggy Carter. And so that's a storyline that could continue in season 2 of What If, but I don't know if it'll ever like cross over into the movies. I don't think it would be tough to do it. So what, again, we can use that terminology, canon adjacent.
Right.
I think it's like, it's fun to watch. It's interesting to see. It was cool because a lot of the actors did come back and do their voice work with that series. And so they actually, you know, had most of the actors come back. I mean, and what was somewhat poignant about the series is this was the last work that Chadwick Boseman did before he passed away. So he voiced T'Challa in all of the episodes. I think T'Challa was in 4 episodes of What If in various forms.
What if, and that's what the series does. It asks the question, what if? What if Peggy Carter went into that experimental tube versus Steve Rogers? What if the Ravagers grabbed T'Challa instead of Peter Quill and he became Star-Lord? You know, what if Ultron actually won in Avengers instead of getting beaten? You know, what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? That kind of thing. And it is a lot of what ifs. And again, for me, and of course, what if zombies are a big thing? They're infected by a zombie plague.
Right. That's a spin-off series coming.
They actually had Captain America Zombie over at Disneyland because Disneyland gets all the cool characters and we
they do.
Which sucks.
Yeah, they do.
They had the friggin' Muppets on a float coming down the middle of the street. And I'm like,
so lame.
We get Ariel for the 44th time, and you know they get the.
Why can't we get Muppets? I mean, I know the
seriously
whole Marvel thing. I understand. There's
the Marvel
contract.
thing.
Okay, I get it. But like, why can't we get the Muppets?
I mean, I feel like Bob Chapek walks around the studio and finds a janitor and says, "Do you like the Muppets?" And the janitor's like, "Well, I haven't seen all." Well, there you go. They don't like the Muppets. We don't.
Yeah,
so we'll just do it in
No, we love the Muppets.
Come on, people. Come on.
Muppet Christmas Carol, best of all. Sorry.
Most of the movies are on there as well, and we're not going to go through the ones that you need to see in the order you need to see them. Just go ahead and check them out.
There's only Incredible Hulk's not going to be on there because that's actually a Universal film, and then the Spider-Man films.
That's right.
The Spider-Man films aren't on there right now, but Sony has cut a deal with Disney Plus where they, in a year or so, I think maybe like 2023, all the Spider-Man films will finally be on Disney Plus as well. So that'll be
I only
the only
like certain of those.
they're good. Come on.
Some of them are good.
Yeah,
Some of them are like
well, and I'm specifically talking about the MCU Spider-Man movies.
Okay,
I'm not talking about like all the old ones with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I'm talking about just the
specific
Tom
MCU
Holland
ones.
Yeah, the MCU ones that would actually be nice to have on Disney Plus as you're watching all of the other MCU films.
Right.
So
two things that I want to bring up. Well, first of all, the multiverse is a term that fans may or may not be familiar with, and two things that come to mind. First are the second Spider-Man, which is Far From Home. They introduced sort of the concept of the multiverse where you have Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Mr. Mysterio, coming from another universe. And basically, the multiverse is the theory that there are other Earths, and the sort of the same things are happening on other Earths, but different things are happening with the same people. Lots of Earths. That's the multiverse. So one concept is there's a great cartoon from a couple of years ago called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. One of the best animated cartoons I have ever seen. It's a movie. It's phenomenal. It's not on Disney Plus. It's streaming right now on a FX Now, which is free with commercials. It's a free download. It is absolutely worth downloading and watching that because it does bring in, through some crazy things happening in the movie, it brings in other Spider-Mans from the multiverse to come into this movie. So you have Spider-Ham, which was a funny character from the 80s. You have Spider-Noir, which is like a 30s type of character. You have Spider-Girl, Gwen Stacy, voiced, I believe, by Haley Steinfeld voiced that?
Haley Steinfeld did that voice,
she voiced that. And so that's kind of introductory of the concept of the multiverse. You're going to see a lot of this coming in. What I think it's also going to do for Disney overall is it's going to allow them to introduce characters that normally they would have a hard time pulling into the universe, including mutants, which they've kind of talked about that a little bit. But now using the multiverse, now they have this really an easy channel to say, well, we don't know how to bring this character in, so let's just say it's from the multiverse. You can do it that way, so it's almost like an easy out for them to be able to do that. And so you're going to see a lot of that. Doctor Strange itself, the next one's coming up is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So a lot of that will be introduced. The same thing with this one, which is why we're hearing the theory, which at the time this drops, about this episode, about 12 hours from the dropping of this episode, Mikey and I will be in the theater watching the third Spider-Man and seeing all what happens with the multiverse coming in with that. So that'll be fun. Anything else on Marvel? Anything, Mikey, that you're like, besides the four, if you haven't seen this series, this show, you really need to check this out.
No, I mean, I think we mentioned everything that's available to watch that is at least adjacent to the MCU. I mean, and like I said, What If is more like canon adjacent, so you don't really have to watch that. There's a lot of stuff that they announced during that Disney Plus day. I think Marvel had a much better Disney Plus day than Star Wars did for whatever reason. But they did. And I don't know if you guys covered that, but they announced a ton of stuff. I mean,
we didn't really dive into
Not
it.
really,
you were coming up, so we figured we would dive
into it.
I mean,
they've got a lot. We don't know exactly when they're coming out, but next year alone, there's like 4 different series coming out. You've got Moon Knight with Oscar Isaac, which is another, and these are all going to be MCU shows. So these are all shows that if you feel as if you want to keep track of every single thing in the MCU, you would probably want to watch these shows also. If you're just like, I just want to watch the movies, fine. That's the way you want to MCU. That's the way you want to MCU. It's not a big deal. But I mean, a lot of the series that are coming out, I'm super looking forward to. I mean, they've got what else do they have? They've got Moon Knight. They got Miss Marvel, which is an interesting, that's a newer character in the Marvel universe. And when I say that, I mean, as far as the comics themselves, that was a character introduced in the 2000s. So it's kind of it's an interesting character because she's kind of a fangirl of Captain Marvel. So this character, she's got superpowers. She gets superpowers somehow. And she's like this younger girl, she's like 16 or something, that's a fan of Captain Marvel. So it's interesting that you've got that series coming out. And that's a person of color is going to be portraying that character, and so that's a big deal in the MCU to have inclusivity as far as that's concerned. So I'm kind of looking forward to that show. Let's see what else they've got. She-Hulk. Now, if you know Tatiana Maslany, she was in a really popular series where she played this character with a bunch of multiple personalities, and so you got to see really a lot of different sides of her acting ability. So she is a great choice for She-Hulk, because obviously you've got the Hulk version of that character, and then you've got she's a lawyer during the day. Now, from what I understand on that particular series, it's going to be like a courtroom drama type of thing, 30-minute episodes. So it's going to be different. It's going to be like sort of a different vibe to it. I'm looking forward to that. And then the last big one that I think is coming out next year. Oh, you know what? Maybe there's only 3 coming out next year. I thought there was a 4th one. Maybe it's pushed to 2023. I don't know, but
well, there's a lot of movies coming out next year too for Marvel.
A lot
they're
of,
having
yeah.
a big
I
push.
mean,
They were pushed into 2022, so we've got 3 or 4 coming out, which we've been waiting on for a while. There is a segment on Disney Plus, the Marvel Cinematic Universe in timeline order, and it's not just the movies; it also has the series intertwined. It's chronological. It's not in order of release, but actually in order of storyline all the way through. Like you said, the Spider-Mans are not in there, as neither are the Hulk movies as well. So you will have to kind of interject those in there somewhere. Find those at other places. But it's not a bad little thing here. And Jen, it actually says Loki is first on the timeline order.
Really?
Then WandaVision, then Falcon, then Hawkeye. With Shang-Chi actually coming last, followed by Hawkeye as the most recent. So a lot of good stuff on here. You can actually find the old Marvel series from the 90s that are on here.
Oh my gosh.
Series and everything.
Oh, they got all kinds of old stuff.
They've
on
got
there.
what's called Marvel Legacy movies and like the X-Men movies, which these are movies that will not be canon as far as the MCU goes. Same thing with Fantastic Four. Don't watch the second Fantastic Four. No, actually don't watch the one they have listed. This is the one from a few years ago, and it's horrifically bad.
Yeah.
That, Dark Phoenix, and Apocalypse are 3 just awful movies, so just skip those all the way around. So yeah, a lot of good stuff. So as we finish up here, just Disney Plus as a whole, of course, Encanto. Mikey and I have both seen Encanto.
Yeah.
Jim was like, I'm not seeing that Disney show.
Wait
I'm
a
going to
second.
See West Side Story.
What? Well,
so,
I mean, yes, I did choose West Side Story.
Of
course.
Encanto, out in theaters now. They made a decision to put this on streaming on the 24th of December.
Yeah, 30 days after. Yeah.
Which I think is a terrible mistake because I think this is a movie that families could go see.
And they would have gone on Christmas Eve,
and they would have gone to see
probably.
it. Right now, I think Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to clean up because that's the big family movie that everybody wants to see.
Or Spider-Man.
Or Spider-Man. That's true. Spider-Man, both of those movies, because you'll have, the entire week that people can go see movies. And maybe they made the decision going, well, Spider-Man and Ghostbusters are there, so let's just put Encanto on streaming. Encanto is a beautiful movie. It is gorgeous. The music is great. It's the story of this family, the Madrigals, that they have this enchanted place called Encanto, and this girl named Maribel, she is kind of your heroine, and she discovers, everybody, to set it up, basically, everybody in Encanto has a special power. Nothing like superhuman, but, one girl's really strong, one girl has super hearing, and one girl, when she cooks, she heals people when she cooks. And Maribel doesn't have a power, and she's trying to figure out her power. What is her power? We'll come to find out there's kind of a black sheep of the family, and also Encanto, there's some things happening with Encanto. Things are beginning to fall apart for Encanto, and she's kind of her race to save it. There's no traditional villain. There's no bad guy to point to say, "Ooh, such a bad villain." It's just an overall story of her saving the day. I love her because she's not this beautiful princessy, like willowy. I'm Rapunzel, I'm gorgeous, and I'm Belle. Whatever. She's this girl with curly hair and big glasses and kind of goofy and just fantastic voice cast, fantastic story, fantastic film, and I really wish this is a movie that more people would have seen, and I wish Disney would push it more. I kind of feel like Disney has kind of released it, kind of let's get it out there. Encanto's our November film. COVID is still happening, and the next one they got coming out is next November called Strange World, and I think that's going to be kind of their next big push for a film. Right now, it's like the 60th movie that we've got out, Encanto. Okay, now it's streaming. Let's go next year. I mean, I kind of feel like they've done some of that. Yes, you see merchandise and stuff, but Encanto is worth seeing in the theater. It's just...
Oh, yeah, it's great.
So,
yep. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, music is great. Jen, you'll really like it.
I will,
really
yeah.
Oh, you will. Yeah, you'll like it a lot.
Yeah. We'll probably stream it over Christmas.
Yeah, it's worth streaming. I think a lot of people will stream it as well. So that's on there. A couple of things that I want to throw out for Disney Plus. If you haven't seen it, just as Disney fans, first of all, behind the Imagineering stories, which we've talked about before, is great. Behind the Attraction is a behind-the-scenes look at a lot of popular attractions, which is great. There's also a series that I continually push for. It's called Prop Culture. And
that was cool.
Where this guy goes in and he finds props from these old vintage Disney movies, and he reunites them with the people who played them. Nightmare Before Christmas, the Muppet movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Chronicles of Narnia. Like, the kids came in, they're all grown up now. They're all like looking and talking about the props and the outfits and stuff they held before. They reunite Paul Williams with his guitar. He's the one that wrote that wrote Rainbow Connection. Like, I was in tears watching him as he picks up his guitar for the first time in like 45 years. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I wrote that song." And they're talking about it's It's
cool.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so
Jen,
good.
anything you've seen on Disney Plus that you just absolutely loved and would recommend, movies or TVs or otherwise?
I mean, I've been on like a Muppets Jag recently. So like I've been going through and just watching random Muppets movies that I haven't seen, like maybe from the early 2000s,
Right.
like Letters to Santa. Not that it was great, but it was fun and it made me smile. And of course, Muppets Christmas Carol. So I've just been kind of going through and doing that. I love that that's on there. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I've got to plug The World According to Jeff Goldblum, the second season.
Yes.
It
That's
is
on my list.
It's awesome. And then that new show with Will Smith is not bad. The Nat Geo show where he's sort of going on. Yeah, Welcome to Earth. He's sort of going on these different adventures. It's really good. I enjoy watching that one with my kids because my oldest one's kind of interested in that type of stuff, and so she's enjoyed that. He was the narrator of a show that she watched last year on Disney Plus that was more about space and stuff like that. But he's actually in the show, and so she's getting to see him, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I do want to plug one actual Lucasfilm show that we didn't mention that's coming out next year, Willow.
I heard about that one.
Sequel series to the film from the 80s. I mean,
Michael's
all
a
in.
Willow apologist.
I love some Willow. Anything Warwick Davis and Willow, I'm all in. So I just want to mention that since we talked about Marvel and Star Wars, I got to plug my Willow also.
That's good stuff.
I have an important question.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're talking about Star Wars. Is the Christmas special on Disney Plus?
No, it's not. No, the holiday special is not. There's one animated sequence that they put on there because Boba Fett is in it. This was actually technically the first appearance of Boba Fett. Before his appearance on Empire Strikes Back, he was in an animated sequence in that holiday special. It is on Disney Plus. You can watch it.
Just the sequence, though.
Probably in the Legacy era. Just the animated sequence introducing Boba Fett is on there. Yeah.
Very nice. Of course, they've also got the documentary, The Beatles Get Back. People are loving it.
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
9-hour experience.
It is
I'm
so
not
good.
a fan of the Beatles. I don't know that I'll ever watch this. I mean, if it were a 3-hour episode, I probably would. But Peter Jackson's directing it, and he's done a lot. He's, of course, the Lord of the Rings guy, but he's done a lot of great documentaries. He did a World War I documentary from a few years ago called They Shall Not Grow Old. It is phenomenal, taking footage from the World War II, updating the modernizing the footage. It's just, it will blow you away. One of the most impactful documentaries I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of documentaries. Luca, which is the Pixar movie from last summer, it kind of got thrown on here. Did not get its just due. Great
Golden Globe nomination.
Yeah, great movie, Golden Globe nomination. So a lot of good stuff on Disney Plus as well. A lot of good stuff for streaming. So I hope you guys out there have kind of got an idea of what's been streaming. Jungle Cruise, of course, is streaming now.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Cruella is streaming now. Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings are streaming now. And
Black Widow.
That is Black Widow. And one movie that's on my list that I've never seen, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
I love it. I love that movie.
I've never seen it, so I'm going to try to get that in before the end of the year if I can. Make that one of my final movies for the year because I've just never seen it.
You need to watch Bed Knobs.
I do need to watch it. It looks like
I need to rewatch it.
You need to watch it because they're about to do a Broadway version of Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. So Dave, you need to watch it, of course.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
My gosh, my sister and I used to watch that one all the time.
Dude, all that. I love the animated sequences in that movie. I mean, so good.
Absolutely perfect.
Shout out to past and future guest Jennifer Kaufman, also frequent guest of the Deucecast. High School Musical, the holiday show, the musical is on as well. That's kind of a running gag for the two of us because I like to say that title has got more colons than a proctology lab. It's insane.
It does. It has a lot of colons.
It's a colonoscopy.
Is what
it
the high school. It's just ridiculous. So, which by the way, I didn't know this, but I believe Olivia Rodrigo, who's taken over the airwaves with her music, is from that series.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
I believe so. So anyway, so that is our look at Disney Plus and some of the things you can find streaming. If you can't find anything from that, I don't know what you're looking for because there you go. Between us and the Deucecast, you should be completely full up. Jen, where can we find you online? How can we follow you in all your misadventures?
Oh, you can find me at Upon a Star Jen everywhere, and my personal Instagram is at Jen_Novotny.
Of course, find me online at The Magic on a Dollar on Instagram. Find me, of course, on Facebook at Magic on a Dollar and Disney on a Dollar. It is Christmas time. We are booking trips like crazy for 2022 and even some for 2021. I'm doing some last minute stuff where we can find some places for people to go.
Wow.
I've done that too. Mikey, plug the Deucecast for us.
Oh yeah. Every Wednesday we release a movie-esque episode on the Deucecast Movie Show. It's Dave, myself, the venerable Dr. Earl,
Yep.
who for some reason does that show with us. I don't know why he does it. I think he just loves movies, and he's just for whatever reason started doing that show with us and never stopped. And I love it.
We're a captive audience, and we're the only ones that will listen to him talk about some Norwegian documentary he saw from 1946.
That's true. Yep. And then I mentioned it earlier. Every Tuesday on YouTube, we have the TV wing of the Deucecast Empire. We call it Deucecast Extra. Currently, we are covering Hawkeye and Yellowstone season 4. So if you like either of those shows and want to hear 3 dudes talk about shows, Dr. Earl's on there as well. You actually get to see Dr. Earl on the Deucecast Extra, and you see young Garrison, who is often on the Deucecast movie show. He is on Extra as well. Pretty soon, we're going to be doing 1883, which is a prequel. I saw you, which is a prequel to Yellowstone. So we're going to continue doing the Yellowstone shows, myself, Dr. Earl, and Roth in Wyoming, because I mean, you got to have a guy from Wyoming when you're talking about cowboys. I mean, it's just the way it goes. Oh, dude. Yeah. And then, we're going to be doing Book of Boba Fett as well. Like I said, that comes out December 29th. We're going to be talking to that show. We'll probably have Nick from Podcast of the Wills join us on that, because he's our Star Wars expert. I just pretend to know a lot about Star Wars. Nick is like a Star Wars expert, so we want to have him at least on a couple episodes of the Deucecast Extra talking about Book of Boba Fett. So
very cool. All right, guys, you have all the stuff you need to your list is set for the time the kids are at home. Just throw something on the TV. You know what to watch. You know what to avoid, that kind of thing. Got some great episodes coming up. The I Am Geek guys are coming out next week, and Jen and the Geek guys, we're going to be talking about our Christmas lists. The most expensive things we can find that we want that nobody will buy us, but hey, we're going to talk about how badly we want them. There is a Lego Star Destroyer on my list, by the way, and it's only $700.
Wow.
But
we'll spoiler alert.
That. And a great episode, a special episode that Jen and I are putting together for the Christmas week or the week after Christmas. We're really excited about it. Going to share some stuff on that episode, but that's coming up as well. And don't forget to find the Deucecast. Got our annual episodes are coming up with the movies of the year and the movies we didn't like, the lumps of coal and all that good stuff. So that's coming up as well. So for Jen, for Mikey, I'm Dave, and hey, don't forget to thank your Phoenicians.
Thank you for listening to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the MSE Podcast, or visit our website at themsepodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe, and may all your wishes come true.